Welcome back. And the Wolf is back. Yes, Jordan Belfort, or the Wolf of Wall Street, has returned to Australia. It's his third consecutive year he's come here. And so let's find out what his message is this time around. Welcome, Jordan. How are you?
Good to see you, Peter.
Now, you heard me in the promos. Sometimes when you've been on the program, I've had emails from people who said, "Oh, Peter, why do you lend your credibility to a convicted felon?" So I thought, well, for their benefit, and I know you're a bloke who'll confront the brutal truth. What do you say? What do you say to a question like that? Why should Peter Switzer give you some time on this program?
Well, if you didn't want to let anyone from Wall Street on the show who ever broke the law, it'd be a pretty short roster on your show, Peter. But the better answer is probably that a guy like me who really rose to the top of the game, made some big mistakes, went back to the bottom and had to start again and made the money back another time, you'd say, well, that's a guy that probably knows a few things about making money. It's a guy who could really help my viewers understand some of the principles of making money and hopefully impart some of those principles. So I think that I have a really unique view having to come back from failure.
Without a doubt. Now, let's just, in a nutshell, explain what you did, in terms of building the business up, where you started from, where it got to, then what you did wrong, and then how you were penalised, and then we'll talk about the sort of messages you're going to give in Australia while you're talking here.
Okay. Well, what I did right is essentially, like any business, I started small, hired a couple of people, and I hit in a little niche in the market.
As a brokerage? As
brokerage, and that was really selling $5 stocks to the wealthiest 1% of Americans, and no one had really tried that in an organized way. Nothing wrong with that. It's a great niche.
I guess you understood that the market actually liked $5 stocks. They weren't penny dreadfuls, but they were actually...
Correct.
Okay. And,
at the time, though, people did not think rich people would like $5 stocks. They thought they liked penny stocks, but they weren't really buying them. So I came into the market with the $5 stocks. And then I came up with a way of training, motivating, and really teaching average people how to become very, very good closers. And I took average people, made them into master closers, master salespeople, and that was really what propelled my firm to the top.
Had you created a boiler room like that? The movie we've seen, the boiler room, we had a lot of young people working the phones and getting customers on. I'm not saying you're necessarily doing things wrong there, but you actually the system.
Yes and no. What you saw in that movie, the kid worked for me, by the way, who wrote the script.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, and it was just imagine that, but like on steroids, 10 times as big. So what happens is typically, and the reason I say it was much bigger is because there's a herd mentality that starts to take hold when there's 1,000 people in a room versus 75 people.
So you had 1,000 brokers. Started with a couple, ended up with 1,000.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
And so then I guess the next question is, what went wrong? What did you do wrong? Because obviously you had a great business, selling 1,000, and in principle, what you were doing wasn't wrong.
No, 98% of what I did was strictly legal. It was the 2% was I started free riding. I was holding on to positions of stock I should not have been holding on to, and by doing that, I violated the law, and that was really what my downfall was.
Does it mean that you had a capacity to influence the market by doing that, and that was your in a sense, what the SEC came after you for?
Well, I had the capacity to influence the market either way, but by holding on to these large blocks of stock, if I could drive the price up, then you make money essentially by being long, having possession of a stock.
So at a time when the market might have wanted it, you held back, the price up. And that was okay. So as a consequence of that, but also along the way, the whole success thing really got to you and your team's head, didn't you? Drugs and parties and helicopters and swimming pools and stuff like that. It was crazy stuff.
I guess there was no excess too great for us, so we were just sort of living this completely insane life. That was the stuff you see on TV and movies. As you know, they're making my book into a movie, so I guess it's sort of like it was real life imitating art, now art imitating real life. So it was an over-the-top, insane lifestyle, but at the end of the day, when I got caught and I had to do 22 months in jail, what was left were the lessons of the past. And the lessons of the past were, number one, that getting rich is not that difficult. Okay, there's a system, there's a formula for getting rich, not hard to make money. But if you sacrifice your ethics and integrity along the way, it's not going to last. So when I went back out there and started, making money again, I was very careful when I was formulating my business plan to make sure that I did everything at the highest level of ethics, and I teach that to people now, whether it's a Fortune 500 company, I've spoken at the AFP, the Australian Federal Police, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan, at the Federal Reserve, the biggest corporations and moms and pops. It's really, the idea is that you can make money, there are certain skills you need to have. There's not that many. There's really 8 skills that you need to have to make a ton of money, and not just money, really a ton of success in any aspect of your life. If you have those, you'll get rich, and if you don't have them, if you're missing 1 or 2, it's difficult to get rich.
Are you saying that those 8 skills work whether you're in small business trying to grow a business, or you're trying to grow your investment nest egg? Those 8 skills will apply, or is it specifically for a business?
It's for anything. In other words, and it's not just for money. It's for your relationships. It's for your spirituality. It's for all aspects of life. But when it comes to money, these skill sets are particularly powerful and immensely necessary. If you're missing even one of them, success at any reasonable level will elude you. That's the bottom line.
So were you doing these 8 things right when you were doing some things wrong?
I was doing all 8 of them at the highest level. I was, in fact, but not knowing it. I did it by accident. And when you see a rich person, if you look at any wealthy person and see, listen, someone hit the lottery, different story, right? That's far, okay. But someone that really actually had a business or did something to make a lot of money, built something, you'll see there's certain things they're all doing. In some shape or form, they're all doing the same thing. So what are those? If you know what those things are, you can learn them, you'll get rich too. Now, I make a statement, give me 3 days, I'll turn any person into a millionaire. Now, what I'm not saying is on day 4 you'll have $1 million. I'm not saying. What I'm saying is it's you who have to become a millionaire first. You got to grow yourself to become a millionaire. The money comes after the fact.
It seems to me what you're really talking about. I know when I talk to businesses and look back at the successful businesses in this country and the likes of Richard Branson, people like that, a lot of these people are into leadership, and the leadership is self-leadership first. That they actually change themselves, and that change is the starting point of the growth that follows. Is this the kind of principle that you've perceived and you?
Well, yeah, it is. But what I've done is, rather than making it this amorphous thing where, like, you want to change, and that's all true. Right. But the more important question is, well, what are the specific things that you have to change about yourself? What do you have to know? Tell me what they are, and also show me how to do it. It's one thing to say, listen, Peter, you should be doing this, that. Go learn them. That wouldn't really help you as much if I say, listen, Peter, you got to do this, this, and I'm going to give you a system, an ABC step-by-step system to help you learn it. Okay.
When it comes to the investment psyche, because obviously you've become an amateur psychologist because you understand the psychology of a market.
Right.
You could never grow a business unless you didn't understand that. What is wrong with the investment community out there? What do they get wrong? Because obviously you've analysed, because you were dealing with customers. Right. Your 1,000 brokers were selling stock all the time. What do you think is the main problem why people make big mistakes on the markets? Either they're misled by a crummy broker or a silly trading system or whatever. What's the core mistake inside them that they have to be aware of?
Well, you just gave 2 great mistakes right there, to believe in a crappy system or a crooked broker. But that aside, what's the sort of the inside?
Because they're powerful sellers too, aren't those people, aren't they?
Well, what's happening typically is a crappy trading system or an illegitimate broker is tapping into a weakness that you have as an individual. And we all have this. This idea that we can get something for nothing, that maybe there is a Santa Claus or a tooth fairy, that maybe there is some way, some magic bullet. And the truth is, Peter, that there's not a magic bullet. But I will tell you this, the way to get rich in stocks as an individual investor is not to think that you could take $5,000 or $10,000 and take your nest egg and bet aggressively in the market and turn it into a few $1 million. The idea is to make money into core business, at your livelihood, to take that money, the excess cash flow, and put that to work for you in the stock market, and try to get yourself 15, 16%. I mean, you get 15% returns, that's ridiculously great.
That's right.
8% returns are great.
Yeah, well, 10% your money doubles every 7 years.
Come on, but the idea that, I'm in the seminar business, right? I give seminars, and I will laugh. I can't believe what some people will get on stage and say. They'll offer a trading system and they'll make 300% a month. Now, if that were true, Peter, the person selling the system would be worth $1 billion. It's simply not possible. The idea is you want to make 10, 12, I mean, on a great year, 15% on your money, and the idea is to build a business or to keep putting money and investing money in there and growing it over time. That's how you get rich in stocks. Now, the other aspect is the average investor will tend to be buying when they should be selling, and selling when they should be buying, because they tend to sell when there's fear around, and they buy when there's euphoria around, and it's the exact
We're in that situation now
of what you should do. You should be, Warren Buffett's got a great saying, I want to be greedy when others are fearful, okay, and fearful when other people are greedy. And that's really a great rule of thumb in the market. It goes against the conventional wisdom. What you think is good. If everyone else loves something, say it must be good. It's not true in the market. When everyone else loves something, typically it's a time to sell.
Okay, so if someone wanted to play this market situation now, stocks have been beaten up again, particularly in this country they've been beaten up. What would you recommend if your dad came to you and said, I'm in Australia now, I'm playing the market, how would you play the market from what you're seeing now?
I would get involved in the resource sector myself, and I am in the resource sector. I have stocks in mines, public, private stuff. I buy mines, a lot of stuff in Africa. I'm a big believer in the resource sector for two reasons. Number one, I believe the demand coming out of China and India will continue for a long time, but even if it doesn't, the amount of money being printed by governments like mine and the crises that you see this stuff on the horizon with the banking systems, whether it's one day it's Italy, one day it's Greece, and who knows who will be next, right? When you print money, commodity prices just go higher. Australia is a commodity-based economy, so to me it looks very strong over the coming years. And I will tell you, I think the resource sector continues, not just gold. I think all the precious metals, the base metal, I think they all continue to trade higher.
Yeah, so I guess you look for good quality companies in that space.
Yeah.
Now, mate, you're talking in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane.
And Perth.
And Perth this
My
year.
favorite place also. Sydney, I love every place in Australia, but I'm also going to be in Perth this year, and I'm going to be teaching those 8 things.
Okay, and when?
I will be, I think it's a week from Monday night in Sydney. The tour starts, actually.
Okay.
And
what website should people go to?
Go to jordanbelfort.com.
All right, mate. Thanks for joining us on the program.
My pleasure, Peter. Good to see you as always.
Okay, mate. Well, that was Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, and coming up after will be Ron Bewley. And Ron, last time he was with us, was very positive on the market, but for the long term. Until he gets here, let's have a look at how the blue chips actually fared today.